All right. Per usual, on a big Sunday night stage, the Lions go into the game injured and they get ramrodded. So, it ain't just the play caller, which I already knew that. But it's the fact that this football team isn't that good. And that's why you got people asking the question, did they miss their Super Bowl window? And I think, I was reading the Woolworth Sports threads and people say, oh, if they missed the playoffs, they're most likely probably going to miss the playoffs. They're most likely not going to win this division. Right now, Chicago is number one. And it's not that they're even close to Detroit or Green Bay. It's just to the fact that they played the last place schedule. That's what it is, right? But, credit to them. But at the end of the day, the Lions may not make the playoffs. And I've been saying the last couple weeks, the quarterback ain't good. Let's call it what it is. The interior offensive line is injuries everywhere. Radledge got injured last night. That's another key point. Last night, they had a fourth down. And, you had a backup guard in Willie Colon. You had another backup guard, a shot guy. And then you got Graham Glasgow, who was 27 out of 32 or 31 centers in the National Football League. That should tell you everything you need to know right there, why they can't run the football. And ultimately, they got stopped. And you got to ask yourself, when you start short yardage situations, why aren't you putting David Montgomery in? Why aren't you putting David Montgomery in short yardage situations? Why are you going with Jahmyr Gibbs? And I'll tell you why. They're trying to outsmart the other team when they just outdoing themselves, because they know when Montgomery come in, they're going to run the football. Simple as that. So ultimately, this team is trying to outsmart themselves. Goff just can't handle pressure. That's what it boiled down to. The gloves might have piqued everybody's interest last night. He can't handle pressure. And when pressure started going, when he has to move his feet, he is the most unathletic quarterback I ever seen. He got two bow-legged left feet or left legs. Like he just sucks. Even when, Brady and Manning, they had pocket mobility. You know what I'm saying? They have pocket mobility. Jared Goff has no mobility, no pocket mobility. Drew Brees can slide in the pocket, slide over, make a throw. When Jared Goff feels pressure or he has to move his feet, the ball is going in the dirt. For the last few years, it was like, okay, when he turned his back, he getting sacked. He ain't been turning his back that much, but when he has to move his feet, when he has to move off the mark, he throws the ball. It always goes in the dirt. And I see some people saying, well, my rock, he's dropping the ball. Look at the ball placement of where he's throwing the ball. He's throwing it in the dirt. That wasn't because it was cold, per se. It was windy. That's per se is he don't have enough arm, and he can't deal with pressure. Therefore, that's why it was so important for them to continue to invest into their offensive line, backups and all. And as of right now, losing Ragnow and not having and not going out there and getting the center and prepping the center and going with Glasgow, we've seen that story already in Detroit. Glasgow can't, be a good center. He's a serviceable guard. He's somebody that can hold it down for a minute, but as of right now, he ain't gonna be a center. Radledge will eventually kick over. Frank Ragnow did it, and if you look, Tay Radledge is the 11th best center, or I think they said the 11th best center. Guard in football. He's the 11th best guard in football. So, that gives you hope that he can come in next year, deal with the speed of the game. But ultimately, last night, you can put it on Dan if you want to. He called a great play on the fourth down that would have, I think, tied the game up. Would have got, he called a great play, and St. Brown, he threw it to St. Brown instead of throwing it to Brock Wright. And had that probably been Sam Laporta, he probably throws that ball. But Brock Wright was wide open, right in front of his face. But you know what? When the pressure is getting to you, Goff is ass. They're not going to win with Goff. Let's just put it out there. Especially not this year. He have no impromptu skills. And with that offensive line, it's a wrap. They can't run the ball neither because they're not getting no push on the inside. So a lot of it can't fall on, Johnny Moe, because he was more pass happy than Johnny Moe was the last couple weeks. So he called in plays just as Johnny Moe called plays. Why don't you give it back to Johnny Moe? And people say, well, the weather yesterday was one of the reasons why, Jared Goff, he can't play in bad weather and all that type of stuff. He just don't have an arm. He don't have an arm. He don't have the footwork. He don't have the footwork. Anytime he got a slide in that pocket. And last night, for the most part, it fell on him. It fell on him because he can't roll out, and you can't call bootlegs because he can't get out, can't move the pocket because he can't move. So they knew if they got the Jared Goff and the guy that they was supposed to trade for, Jalen Phillips, he did a great job against Jared Goff last night. Goff, you look at the numbers, you feel like he outplayed Jalen Hurts. The Lions defense was outstanding last night. The fourth down punt, fake punt, I'm not mad about it, but you can't run. You can't run with Montgomery. You can't run with Gibbs. You ain't getting no interior push. You got backup guards in, but why do it? Why do it? They had 2 fumble recoveries and they didn't get one. Aiden Hutchinson, he didn't do much. I don't think he got a half a sack last night. He got a couple pressures, but ultimately they defense, the reason they gave up the touchdown at the end of the first half was because they was playing prevent defense. They was playing 2 deep safeties, and they didn't want to get beat down the field, which I would have took my chances with getting beat down the field. And that's what sparked life into their running game. Because when the Lions sat there, at the end of the half, they allowed the Eagles just to, run the ball. The Lions was looking for them to throw deep. And once they got that rhythm and running the ball and them 2 deep look, even when the Lions started dropping a safety back in the box and loading the box, they was able to run the ball again. And then they start calling some Jalen Hurts design runs here and there. And, at the end of the day, it's tough. And then I hear people talking about the last call where Roxanne and it didn't matter. Goff wasn't going to drive you down the field and win the game. So in my opinion, it didn't matter. Goff was not about to drive you down the field and win the game. So we can speak on whatever y'all want to speak on, but Goff wasn't going to drive you down the field. They got to get a quarterback. Or, they got to go out there and they got to reinvest into the guards in the center again. But then if you go draft a center, it's going to take some fucking time. But I think in my humble opinion, your center next year will be Tay Ratledge. That's my opinion. Your center will be Tay Ratledge. But they will not get it done with Jared Goff. And now for the most, I think it's impaired. I think we all understand what's happening now. That you're going to be on the road. You're going to be on the road. You're going to be on the road. The Lions, I'm going to go on a limb. They ain't making the playoffs, bro. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Now, the only thing that gives me hope is the fact that they're going to get healthy. But then again, that's been the thing with the Detroit Lions for a long time. That's been the thing with them. It's always, we're not healthy. We're on the Sunday night, they're always banged up. That's another thing about it. They always fucking hurt. But ultimately, if they do make the playoffs, they're going to have to go into Lambeau or someplace like Philadelphia, and Goff is just not going to be able to cut it. They got to find a quarterback that can walk and chew bubblegum. Right now, that is not Jared Goff. He cannot walk and chew bubblegum. If he have to slightly move his feet in the pocket in prop, it's going in the dirt. So I don't have much to say, man. Appreciate y'all. Hit the link in the description. Shout out to Philly. 16-9 win. Find me on X, Facebook, Kick, Twitch, everything inside the link tree. First link in the description. Peace.